Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Be hiking in mountainous area. Not exactly super high altitude or lots of steep cliffs, just felt like exploring a bit. Didn't take guns since I wasn't planning to shoot and wouldn't be licensed to hunt there anyway. Got backpack with tent, food and water. Gotten decently far from civilization. See a deer. Big buck. Didn't think there'd be any up here. Doesn't seem to have a herd, but I figure they're just outside my line of sight or something. Watch it for a bit. Feels super peaceful. It leaves, and the sun is setting. Fine spot to set up tent. Should have done this earlier, but lost track of time watching the buck. Set up camp, gather some dry wood, move a big rock. While collecting dry wood notice, I set up close to fairy circle of mushrooms, just big whitecaps, I think. Too paranoid to go near it, nothing in it, just grass. Finish setting up, pull out jerky, didn't feel like cooking. Felt really sluggish. Sudden silence, mild freak out. Never believed skinwalker stories, but wished I had a gun with me as all the tales of skinwalkers go through my head. Strain my senses looking into bush. Wonder if it's maybe just a snake or dingo. Decide I'd prefer a skinwalker to a cassowary. Smell something and feel goosebumps before I realize it smells nothing like the stories. Smells like Turkish delight or roses. Turn around and someone is standing there watching me with their pet dog. Kind of young adult, he just smiles and waves, asks me what brings me out here. I'm a little on edge, but he's super polite. Dog is a husky and is huge. Young man is kind of small, which makes it look bigger. Kind of feminine and doesn't enter my campsite, which is kind of calming despite the big dog. Dog isn't being aggressive either, which helps. Converses with me for a bit. Asking general non-probing questions. Why I'm out here, if I like camping, small talk stuff. Asks if he can have a seat. Thinking nothing of it, say sure. He steps into my campsite and seats himself across from me. Dog lies down next to him and puts its head in his lap. Finally notice he was standing in the fairy circle from before. Wonder if I should point that out as he pulls out a metal flask and drinks from it. He offers me a drink and asks me why I'd camp so far away from your fellow man alone. Accept the drink, but don't drink yet. Tell him I just like to be alone sometimes. About to mention the fairy circle when he asks me if I want him to leave. Tell him he's fine and take a sip. Almost cough. It's unmixed absinthe. Hand it back to him. He smiles at me with his eyes closed before taking a sip. Guy is so relaxed and friendly, and everything is still so quiet. Mention the fairy circle and ask why he was standing in it. He stops smiling and looks me in the eye. Says that's just the direction he came from and corrects me calling it a fey circle. Ask him where he came from and if there's a road or town back there I didn't know about. He dodges the questions a lot. Says he doesn't live around here. Can't get a normal answer out of him. Start to get on edge a little as he dodges my questions. Bush is still silent. Getting tired, ask him where he's camping. Smiles, eyes wide, and tells me not to worry about it. Super spooked with the fire reflecting off his eyes. Breathing kind of heavy as he stands up. Realize just how short he is, and skinny. He takes a sip, stows his flask, and politely says he should leave. Won't say why, but waits until I say bye before he leaves. Walks right through the fairy circle without stepping on a shroom. Stops in the center and turns back to me. Puts something in his mouth and lights it. Tells me to have a good night and politely asks me not to litter in his bush. Also tells me to relax and informs me that he doesn't bite guys. Leaves with no torch. Rest of the trip was normal. Didn't see him again. Also didn't step in that circle or leave any trash. Better safe than sorry, right?
9 years old. Lived in a ground floor apartment in a large city. Bedroom and basement with a high, small window at ground level. No curtains or blinds, just dresser shelf combo in front of it. One evening, playing with Ninja Turtles, kicking Shredder's ass. Heard pounding sounds. Looked over and saw dresser wobble. What the fuck? Dresser came crashing down, looked up at a window. Guy forced the window open, tried to crawl through. I was frozen for a second in complete disbelief. Looked right at me with wild eyes and evil scowl. Bushy mustache and dark, oily hair matted down against his forehead. Looked like he just had his picture taken for the Minecraft YouTuber of the Month award. Nope. Got up to run. Box of thumbtacks that was on the shelf scattered all over the floor. Stepped on one at full speed. Ow. Shit. Fell down. Became a human corkboard. Closed my eyes and screamed bloody murder in that ear-splitting octave only little kids can hit. Door flew open. Dad came racing down the stairs. "What the hell is all this racket, Anon?" Pointed to the window, still screaming my head off, arm covered with tacks. The Roblox developer was gone. Room's a disaster zone. Dad instantly switched from mad to concerned. "What happened? What happened?" Literally had to slap me a little so I'd stop screaming. Told him what happened. Called cops. Cops took description of the Twitch streamer, said they would increase patrols in the area. Dad closed the window as best he could, duct-taped several black garbage bags to it, and screwed a board across it into the windowsill. About a week later, middle of day, Dad at work, Mom in another room doing whatever. Didn't like playing in my room anymore. Watching TV in living room instead. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Heard weird rustling sounds right outside of living room window. Muted TV, glass shattered. "Mom! Mom! Mom!" Mom ran in with a phone in one hand and a Louisville Slugger in the other. Blinds and curtains ripped off brackets. He was back. Mom swung for the fences. Direct contact with his head, satisfying crack of the bat. He slumped over halfway through the window, continued wailing on him while yelling at 911 operator. "Police sirens, hell yeah!" He scrambled out, turned around, took one step, and fell flat on his greasy face. He's in cuffs, probably brain damage. Mom's a hero. She told the cops she was in the kitchen when I screamed. Said if she was in her room, she would have grabbed the gun. Dad came home from work carrying a bunch of boxes and Rubbermaid containers. "Pack up your toys, Anon. We're moving." Damn right we are. Moved to a small town out of state. My parents have never lived in a big city again, and windows still creep me out sometimes.
July 2016. Be me, 18 years old. I visit my grandparents in rural Liguria every weekend to work. At the time, my grandfather had prostate cancer, so he couldn't work. He asked me if I go in the forest to cut a fallen tree. OK.jpg. I enter the forest and walk for a kilometer. As I venture downhill in the forest, the trees become bigger and they start to look rotten, or they are covered in moss or lichens. I continue to walk, and I realize that I cannot hear any sound. Even birds and cicadas were silent. I start to feel uneasy and inexplicably tired. I arrived at the fallen tree. I struggled to start the chainsaw. It felt heavier than it should have been. After at least 5 minutes, I managed to start it. I start to cut the tree in 6 to 7 pieces. I'm covered in sweat, albeit I didn't toil that much. I think that probably I have low blood pressure or something like it. Suddenly heard what sounded like a pair of feet rushing fast. I looked around me to see if it was a boar or a deer. There is nothing. I could hear leaves cracking and tree branches moving. A strong smell of decomposing flesh attacked me. Now I'm legitimately terrified. I began to walk away very fast uphill, towards home. I could hear the footsteps following me. The smell was also following me. Still, there's nothing to be seen to identify the source. Oh shit, what the fuck, it's chasing me. I ran as fast as I can, chainsaw in one hand, axe in the other. I can see the light of the sun outside the forest. Yes, I made it. I walked outside of the woods. The sound and the smell immediately vanish. I looked around me. A shadow in the forest moves. I faint. I woke up in my bed in grandparents' home. They told me that they found me unconscious near the forest. As I told them what happened, they didn't reply nor explain what it could be.
Northern Illinois. Drive out to prairie farmland to explore an old abandoned military arsenal. Nothing but flat grassland and scattered clumps of trees for miles around. It's a clear and moonless night. Hop a 10-foot fence to get in. Numerous sheds dot the landscape, all covered with sod to prevent satellite detection. No sound but the wind, coyotes howling, and a highway far in the distance. Explore a few. Most are filled with rusted and twisted machinery. Enter a long building. Walking down a hallway, ceiling caved in and rot everywhere. Suddenly hear a scream from a girl with us. Look into an old room missing its window. A black shape perches on something in the room. There's an explosive flash of wings as it flies out the window. Just a turkey vulture, a big-ass bird. We laugh it off and go back outside. I wander off on my own, down an old overgrown road. Began to feel very uneasy. The howling of coyotes was not far off. I have a panoramic view of the prairie, and look towards a grove of trees far to my right. Something just didn't look right. As I look, a tall black shape disappears behind the trees. What I thought was part of a tree was something maybe 20 feet tall and thin, with scraggly branch-like limbs. Book it back to friends. Say nothing. This is maybe 2 years ago, and I was out of town for most of that time, but now I am back and would like to camp out there to see if I see anything. I'll certainly make a thread about it if I do.
Got one for you guys. I'm absolutely confident there's a non-paranormal explanation, but it was pretty weird anyways. Be me, 16 years old, live on an acreage with the family in southern Alberta Foothills. Late summertime, that means cruising around on the quad, videos and delivering justice upon gophers from the end of a .22. There's some dilapidated buildings, old farm equipment, and piles of junk that occasionally break up the yellowing hills and endless gravel roads. Explore them occasionally, but there's never much to see. Late afternoon on a typical hot windy day, go for a quad ride out in the hills. Venture out longer and later than usual, past fences, nobody for miles around. That profoundly alone feeling like you're the last man on earth. Reach the top of a hill, look around and enjoy the view. At the foot of the hill, see some old rusted-out cars and farm equipment arranged in a circular fashion around a large boulder, as big as my quad at least. Pretty cool. Activate stalker mode, get off the quad and walk down the hill to stretch my legs. As I walk, the wind stops suddenly, not unusual for Alberta. Hear the buzzing of insects and the summer heat starts to get stronger. Reach the junk circle. Something in the back of my head says this is all wrong, but I can't place it. Poking around in the rusted-out car, the buzzing is getting louder. Some photos bleached into yellow squares by the sun and not much else in the car. Right in my ear, and I start to hear cracking and snapping noises too. Holy shit, the heat. The noise is overwhelming, an absolute cacophony of dry summer sounds, cranked to the max. Get out of the old car, slump in its shadow to cool off. Raise my hand to shade my eyes from the sun. Despite the heat, I break out in goosebumps and cold sweat like a fever, and I try to talk to myself but can't hear a word through the noise. Look around and it suddenly hits me. The shadows of all the old crap in the junk circle have no relation to the sun. Instead, they are all being drawn toward the boulder at the center, like they're reaching towards it. I'm transfixed as the shadow I'm sitting in creeps forward, in spite of the sun shining in my face. With all of my effort, try to stand. The heat and the noise make it so hard. Inexplicably terrified of what will happen when the shadows reach the boulder. Finally stand. Stumble out of the junk circle, the heat suddenly stops and the noise quiets back down to an insect buzz. Halfway up the hill, the wind resumes. Feel like it's taken forever. Look back to see a ring of shadow nearly touching the boulder. As soon as I looked back, the noise came back more intense than ever, but stopped when I looked away. Finally reached my quad. Peel out of there. Drive home as fast as possible. I got a nasty sunburn and was dehydrated as hell, but the noise didn't leave any ringing in my ears, despite easily being as loud as a shotgun blast in a tin shack. So I think it was probably my overheated brain playing tricks. I went back there once more, but nothing unusual happened.
Be little kid, less than 10. Only me and Uncle home. Decide to play in the backyard. Our backyard had regular wooden fences at the sides, but a chain-link fence at the back, then a small trench, then another chain fence for another family's backyard. Start swinging around a rake, play fighting because we were super poor, and I didn't have real toys. Look to the chain-link fence. See what looks like black smoke trapped in a human shape. It's a little past noon, so it's bright outside. This thing looked like it absorbed the light into complete blackness. It walks through the fence. Nah, fuck that. Run inside. Look back outside, it's running to me. Close and lock the door. Something slams into the door. Run to Uncle and tell him someone is in the backyard. He locks the front door, grabs a knife from the kitchen and goes outside. Tells me to lock the back door and wait inside. Look out the window into the backyard. See Uncle looking around everywhere, even up at the tree we had back there. He comes back inside, asks me if I'm sure I saw someone. Yes, I'm sure. Tells me to stay close to him as he calls the police. Tells them he looked but didn't find anyone. Cop comes to the house, asks me what he looked like. I don't know, I was really scared. What was he wearing? All black. Okay, we'll have some cars patrol around the area, make sure to keep all doors locked, blah blah blah. Stay safe. Slept with my parents that night and the next 2 nights.
Been seeing my girlfriend for just over 3 years now. She's in university and still lives with her family. Their house is a decently sized, 2-story, 5-bedroom Edwardian affair with an attic. Lives with her mum, dad, older sister who is away on campus most of the time for her own uni course, and her younger sister who is 14 right now. Girlfriend has mentioned a couple of times in the past that she feels creeped out by her house and hears noises during the night. Has also talked very often about periods of nightmares with repeating themes, settings, and people she doesn't recognize. Considering the age of the house, always figured these things were natural and the dreams could be stress. Girlfriend has also mentioned explicitly that her little sister has seen some weird stuff in the past and gotten super freaked out about it. So much to the point where she doesn't mention it anymore. Most of the weird shit, for girlfriend, has only happened in her bedroom, but I've gleaned that little sister might have seen other things elsewhere. I'd never stayed over at hers and actually stayed in her room. I'd usually sleep downstairs on the couch. Christmas 2016. Her folks insisted that I use her bedroom as we're pretty serious now. and they said it'd be inhospitable since they've known me a while now. Cool, I'm down. Fast forward to that night, and we're getting ready for bed. Girlfriend's bedroom is pretty cozy. Lots of knickknacks on the shelves, rose-colored walls, and the double bed is in the center of the room. Just an aside, I'm a horror writer and journalist, so I'm in love with anything that resembles legitimate paranormal phenomena. As a result, after girlfriend told me the vagaries about seeing things in her room, usually referring to this unnamed woman, pale and sickly looking, but dressed well despite her face and mannerisms, I'd almost always pursue her for further details, asking what is probably far too many questions. She's become reserved. I'd drop the subject. Asking questions about her little sister's experiences seemed like particularly thin ice. She had definitely experienced some trauma or frightening event, and had to console her sister afterward. Point being, even though I knew very little about previous experiences with what might be in the room, in the back of my mind, I was nervous and unsure of what to expect. It being almost 2 a.m. and with it being Christmas, I'd had about 3 beers, so I was ready for a deep sleep with no dreams. We turn off the lights. The room is very dark apart from a slight light from the very top of the window, which is directly across from the foot of the bed. I wake up around 10 a.m. the next day. Scottish winter, but the light is very bright coming in from the open window, and the room is in full view with no obstruction. I blink my eyes a few times and look down toward the window and see a tall figure at the foot of the bed, at least 6 feet. Woman, mid-30s to early 40s. Dark hair, ash brown and tied back in a bun with a white hat on. White brimmed but not like a sun hat. Formal dress type from the early 1900s. I don't know much about fashion styles and their time periods, but it wouldn't have looked out of place in a Victorian or Tudor period drama if it wasn't white. Her dress is white also, with a slight bell shape toward the bottom and frills all over. Can't distinctly recall the nape. I think it was a V-cut neck of the dress. She's facing the right wall from where I'm sitting and pointing up with her right hand toward a spot on the ceiling. Her face is morose but not very expressive. I blink my eyes a lot, making sure I'm not dreaming, or the image I'm seeing is not a distortion of light and shadows or something. No change. She's still there. She disappears after a few seconds, just fades. The furniture behind her and the light coming through the window is in no way arranged to project her shape or confuse me. Totally baffled, as I've never had any sort of paranormal experience before, despite being interested in the theme. Ask girlfriend about it later and tell her what I saw. Ask her what's directly above her room toward that corner she was pointing at. It's the attic, around where the eaves will be. Of course it fucking is. Went home later that day and haven't been back to stay the night since. Have talked to girlfriend about it a few times just to clarify what it is I saw and if her experiences are related. At first she was very hesitant to answer any of my questions, she said, because that might confirm that it's not just dreams or tricks of the light. Eventually coax her to help because I'm so anxious to know for sure. Go through her whole appearance, aspect by aspect, every detail matches, even her expression. Shit, dude. Girlfriend's not seen her point at the ceiling before. Most times she's seen the woman she's been staring at her, or actively seeming to try and scare or antagonize her. Just 2 weeks ago from today, she told me that she woke up on her side and the woman's face was right there, at the side of the bed, inches from hers. Girlfriend said she threw the covers over her head until she was fully awake and then ran out and downstairs. Was also out at a dinner with her family last week, and her older sister, who lives away most of the time, was there, but not her younger sister, and the subject of the ghost came up. Older sister has never seen her, but hasn't even slept in girlfriend's room, though the little sister has done when she's been sick. And that about wraps up what I know. I'm very keen to stay over again to see what happens, if anything, and I'm curious if the attic has anything to show, but as far as I know, they just use it for storage and haven't opened it in years.
Nothing paranormal, but I haven't been in the woods since people fucked with me and friends while camping. Around fire. Friend says, "What you doing here, man?" All of us look where he is looking. Guy running away from us. Hear other noises. At least 4 other people are running away from us. "Fuck off," says the friend who owns the tent. "Know 'em?" I asked. "Yeah. Well, I don't know who they are, but they're always hanging out in the woods too," he says, going to sleep that night, afraid of the people coming back. Go to piss. Finish. Walking back. See 2 guys walking around near the tent. Not towards it or anything, just around it. "Hey, you guys need something?" They look towards me, looking almost bored. They shrug and shake their head, then keep walking away. Go back into tent. Hear them walking around the tent all night, never getting that close, sometimes throwing light branches at the tent that wakes no one up. Wasn't really that scary, but it was just weird why they would do that all night.
I have yet to wrap my head around this. I know I wasn't dreaming or sleeping. I've come to the conclusion that I walked into some kind of portal or stumbled onto another dimension. Out of the handful of paranormal experiences I've had, this is the one that really sticks with me. Sitting in my room. Just got home from uni. 6 hours of philosophy lectures back to back. Can't wake up. .jpg. Contemplating taking a nap, but fatigue has gotten to the point of being overtired. Energetic mind, but exhausted physically. Have to go to the washroom, so I get up towards my door, stumbling around in the dark. Find doorknob and turn it. Only wearing housecoat and boxers, so I peer out of my room down the hallway to make sure no one is out there. I'm not looking at the hallway, not in my room anymore, not in my house anymore. Instead, I'm looking down on a field that's surrounded by a forest. It's filled with small people, or children. I'm still not entirely sure what they were. The only thing which is keeping me from realizing I shouldn't be seeing this is the door, which I'm still holding onto by the doorknob. The door is the only thing from my reality which I am still perceiving. Standing there watching these creatures play and frolic around. All of a sudden they start to notice me. A few look surprised, but most are just staring blankly in my direction. Realize that my housecoat is open. Feel guilty and shameful for exposing myself, like a strong gut-wrenching feeling. Their games have stopped by this point. Every single one has turned their attention towards me. Start to panic. I finally snap out of it after what feels like an eternity of just staring and being stared at. Back in my house. Go back and sit on my bed to contemplate what just happened. Does anyone have any insight as to what I saw? What those things might have been, or where I was? Ever hear of something similar? I think about this constantly. It was freaky when it happened, but looking back, I sort of want to see it again.
Beamy, 11. Stay with Grandma and Grandpa for the weekend while Mom and Dad celebrate their anniversary. Have stupid kid fun all day. At around 7, it started getting dark. Grandma shouts at me to not linger too much outside because it's getting late. Say yes, and continue playing in their garden. After 5 minutes of me talking with Grandma, I hear her voice again. This time it's coming from an old shack they had right at the end of their garden. But this could not be possible since I just talked to Grandma, and she was in the house. I was in the middle of the two, the house at one end and the old shack at the other, so I would be able to see her going to the shack. Kid brain shuts down for a moment, trying to process this. Hear Grandma again. This time she tells me to come to her. She says she has some treats for me. I, a dumb kid, agree that there is nothing suspicious about my grandma wanting to give me treats in an old rundown shack. Start walking towards it. The voice from inside the shack noticed that I was coming and started being more aggressive. It started saying that if I don't come faster, it will punish me. Weird.exe, but okay. Maybe Grandma really wanted to give me those sweets. Just as I was about to open the door to the shack, my real grandma walks out of the house calling me to dinner. She says I shouldn't play in the shack because it's full of rusty tools and that I could get hurt, get freaked out, and run back to the house. Next day, I asked Grandpa if he could show me what's inside the old shack. He says it's full of rusty old tools, but I insist. We both go together. He pulls me up with his old grandpa's strength so I could view what's inside through one of the windows. Just rusty tools. I insist one more time, wanting to go inside. He finally agrees. He starts saying, "You will see. It's just some tools, that's all." As soon as he pushes the door open, a scythe falls down, almost taking his head clean off, just a few inches away from being decapitated.jpg. He freaks out, asking who the fuck placed that scythe like that. Asks if I entered the shack. I say no. He walks back to Grandma, asking her if she did anything back there. She denies entering the shack. After some time, Grandpa calms down, saying it was probably some dumb teenager who sneaked inside and tried to make a sick joke. He says the last time he went there was 2 weeks ago, so there was no way of knowing when they did that. I start remembering last night, how Grandma wanted me to enter the shack to give me treats. Feel the urge to puke, knowing I could have almost died last night. Still think about who or what the voice was.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.